Councilman Bochamp. Excuse me. Again, thank you, all of you, for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate it. A couple of concerns I've had regarding Ocean State Power. If you could get us the revenue that the town currently has, an agreement with them, whether in tax payments or whatever else that you have at Ocean State Power, and forward that to us, would be greatly appreciated.
Just in general, we have the deal we have with them is basically a valuation deal. They're valued at $160 million, and that's times our tax rate. This year, it's approximately $2.8 million, give or take.
2.8 million, but from when the inception of Ocean State Power, you generate what the revenue you've had given from them since they
Yeah,
became
I can
online.
send over the original tax agreement, they can take a look at it.
Okay. And I have another question. I have been up to the site with a couple of your residents. Actually, I was aware of where it was before anyway, but Spectra gas compression station and their expansion that they had within the last 4 or 5 years. Was Burrillville town on board with that? Did you fight that, or was that something that was out of your hands also?
Mike McIlroy and I can answer the question. Basically, it's a federal project, and it's run by the federal government. The town has a limited ability to participate in it, but there are public processes. I think Mr. McIlroy can explain better how it works, but the town is not in favor of the most recent proposed expansion. The proposed expansion they've made in the past, we were neutral on it because it was not as big a deal as it might have been in our minds. But at this point in time, we are not in favor of the continuation of the expansion project.
But that, I think that expansion that they did have within the last half a dozen years is probably one of the main reasons, or one of the reasons why this new power plant is being proposed there, because of that gas line that's there now. I think that upgrade of that gas compression with all the infrastructure is one of the main reasons. And also with the electric capacity, underground capacity for the electrical, is why that plant is being looked at to be there now. Is that correct?
I don't know that to be the case. Obviously, that's possible. I would think that they're looking at this from a regional perspective in terms of the need for New England and those lines being too small and not able to produce enough gas for the entire region. You know, these power plants are located in places where the power lines and where the gas lines are sort of close to each other. So a town like Burrillville, maybe Woonsocket, or other towns where these lines are close to each other is where they try to find places.
Which from a business standpoint, on their perspective, obviously makes sense, because obviously less money is being spent if the infrastructure is already there to help them do what they have to do.
But there's also possible, excuse me.
No problem. And when Ocean State Power was built, I don't think any of that capacity for them was there at that time. And that's my point about the expansion of the gas compression station has been upgraded to provide that infrastructure which Energy is probably looking for. I was just commenting on that because it would be interesting to see the report from 28 years ago, and I understand about the environment and the natural environment that Burrillville has, as Chico said, in that area. I think that hasn't changed, obviously, but some of this infrastructure has changed from back then to now. I think that's why they don't just look at Burrillville and say the woods up there would be great. It's because of some of that infrastructure that's in place. And I appreciate your comments on that. Thank you.
In the case of Ocean State Power, they actually have 2 gas compression stations bordering their property. So one is the Tennessee Valley gas line, the other was the Algonquin line, or the Spectra line. So they actually have options when it comes to turning that plant on, because it might run maybe 14 or 16 weeks a year. Whoever's got the cheapest gas that day, that is the point where that plant is, where those 2 gas lines come the closest. So that infrastructure was there, that's why they chose that site.
Ocean State Power.
Correct.
I'm talking about.
I understand that too. I understand, why. If you follow that Algonquin gas line up through Connecticut, it goes through Burrillville and then up through Mass. I think there are 11 power plants within 30 miles. They already have them.
And if I could just briefly expand on what Mr. Wood said, he's absolutely right. The compressor station, the Spectra compressor station, and the lines associated with it, both for Algonquin and Tennessee, are federally regulated. And if you think the Energy Facilities Siting Act takes away local power authority, you should see what the Federal Power Act does. The Energy Facilities Siting Act takes away local jurisdiction from cities and towns. The Federal Power Act takes away state jurisdiction. So neither the local authorities nor the state authorities really have any say. They do have a comment process where you can provide public comment. We are engaged in that process already with regard to the current expansion of the Algonquin pipeline, and we will be opposing it as vigorously as we can. But it's extremely frustrating when they have that overriding power over both state and local input.
Just to follow up on, nobody ever says you talk too softly. Just to follow up on what Mr. Chico said, there's a power line alley, and you're absolutely right. It's because of the infrastructure. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the WNRI coverage circle that they have. Imagine a line going from central Massachusetts to Providence, having at least 7 power plants along that line, which is also where the gas, the frac gas line is, and the high tension power line, and two in the hopper. We have one proposed, and there's also one proposed for Killingly, Connecticut. All on that same line, all because of the infrastructure. And it doesn't matter, trees and recreation don't matter. That infrastructure is there, and that's what they're trying to do. And that's a 25-year process that's been going on.
I just want to comment briefly on the Spectra station. So although there is some infrastructure there, the actual ideal spot to expand or increase the size of the power plant, I believe, would be Ocean State Power. The power lines that run by there can't handle the capacity that this power plant would be generating. They're actually going to have to clear cut at least 75 feet more of a width on that power plant line, run new power lines down to the Ocean State Power substation to get the power there to distribute it to the grid. So although there is a power line there, they're not going to be able to use it. They're going to have to put larger power lines that I believe are 20 or 30 feet higher than those and run them down to Ocean State Power. And I believe at one point Ocean State Power was looking to expand, and obviously if you put a competitor in over there that could, alter, their plans for expansion. So as opposed to having one single site in Burrillville where we've taken one for the team, now we have potentially 2 sites that we would take one for the team. I think, I'm not going to speak for the rest of the council members, but if we already have some infrastructure there, I think we should look at our options for that as opposed to destroying another 200 acres of Burrillville. Thank you.
All set, Councilman? Thank you.